Hello everybody, welcome to another watercolor tutorial. Today we are painting this homesteady basket painting. It's another one by Atelier Sasu. I did like a jam one, which should be released before this one. And I just love it. I love the look. I love painting it. I love everything about it. It's so me. And so I wanted to try another one. And this one's, in my opinion, a little bit harder because it's a very intricate woven basket that has a lot more detail than I'm used to painting, but we're gonna attempt it anyways. So I've sketched out my basket here. You can sketch out any basket here. I've added like the little plaid blanket sticking out from the basket, and we're gonna add other details afterwards around it, but for now we're just gonna work on the basket. So just like with the other tutorial, the jam tutorial, I'm leaving the pencil, partly because at least in the other one it looked really nice, but now that I'm painting this brown, I'm seeing that you can't even see the pencil through the brown. So what's the point of using the time to erase it? And I'm gonna actually water this down a tad because we need to paint quite a few details on this basket. And I'm a little bit nervous about them. I think the best course of action is just painting the whole thing brown. A light brown, I should add. You don't want it to be dark because we're gonna be adding details to it later once this dries. That would, if you made it dark, it would be really hard for those details to be visible. That being said, you can probably do any shading that you want to do now. So for instance, I do want this to be significantly darker this side than the other side, just because of how my fictitious sun is going to be hitting this basket. So I guess if we're doing the shade over here, it means our light source is coming from over here somehow, hitting it that way. I'm even gonna add a little bit of black there. And then very, very gently gradienting that out, because again, we want to maintain the lightness everywhere else, because we can always make it darker, but it's much harder to make things lighter. And I'm wetting the entire thing, even if I'm not painting there, to kind of prevent the cauliflower situation from happening. And if you don't know what the cauliflower effect is, I don't know what the actual name of it is. I've said it so many times that I can't remember if I just named it that or if that's the actual name. But it's when your watercolor dries faster in one place than the other, because one just happens to be drier than the other place because you put too much moisture in one place. It will dry in what looks like a 2D cauliflower, if that makes any sense at all. Point is, we want to avoid that. So that's why you just wet the whole thing so everything has the same evenness of moisture, same level of moisture. Okay, so because this is a woven basket, it's like a traditional little homestead woven basket, we are gonna add the the horizontal lines. I just want this maybe to dry a little bit more so that we can have distinct lines. I'm just looking at this basket and wondering how on earth she added that level of detail. It's unbelievable. Like every single woven strand, and there's probably like 15 of them going across, has what's that effect called? Like the fish something, or chevron? Is it chevron? No, fishtail, where it's like boop, 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 boop. I mean, anyway, I'll paint it in a moment so you'll see what I mean. Probably like, what are you saying, woman? La, 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 la. I'm also painting the woven part on top of the basket. This one I didn't add as much black, but we can add, I might add black on this side. I do find it interesting that recently I've done a few more non-landscape tutorials like these, or animals, and those have been strangely popular, like significantly more popular than I would have thought. More than my landscape paintings. I don't know how to feel about that because I don't think they're that good. And I don't enjoy painting. I mean, these I like painting, but animals I don't really like painting. Yeah, but they're for some reason really popular. And I don't want to focus on the animals, and though I very much like painting this sort of stuff, it's extremely time consuming in comparison to some landscapes. I mean, some landscapes are also extremely time consuming, don't get me wrong. But these do definitely take their fair share of time. I added a little bit of black there. I want the back ring to be darker because it's farther away from the viewer. My toddler has entered the chat. If you can hear her in the background. No is her new favorite word. And I don't understand because we don't speak English to her. I speak Polish to her and my husband speaks Dutch to her. And for some reason, she's getting English words. Like, my husband and I speak English to each other, but I don't understand. Okay, so now we're gonna add the weaves of our basket. And I don't know how she does it. Like, I'm just looking at this right now thinking how on earth. I'll try to go a little bit lighter. And I'm leaving an ever so thin line in between each one. Or trying to, at least. So this is a tad bit too light, so I'm gonna try and darken it just a little bit. Not all of them need to be darkened, or not even the full length of the line, even though I just did all of them. So some parts of this are going to be a little bit lighter. So I am going to just darken this side. But then I have to gradient it out nicely. Something like that. I might make some sections even darker, or at least I'll do the same thing here, where I'll make the start of them dark and then gradient it out. So the way I do that is I wet my paintbrush, or like I rinse off the paint, and then just use like the tiny bit of moisture that's on the paintbrush to drag it out. And then it looks something like that. And look, it took us quite a while to get to this point. So anyways, we have to let this dry. I'm gonna just make these top ones a little bit darker. Okay, I think we're gonna let that dry. But as we're letting this base dry, I am gonna try and add a bit of texture to the rim and the part that you hold. So I'm picking up that brown, and I'm basically just gonna paint these curved lines starting from the left, curving down to the right on the back handle, and then I'm gonna flip it for the front. So it'll start in the right, top right, and swoop down to the left. And I know that right now it might not look so great, but that's okay because we'll add a bit more detail once that dries to make it look a little bit better. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the rim of the basket. Like so. Okay. Now I am trying to figure out how on earth this lady did this chevron pattern. It looks so good and I just have no clue. I need a really light color. It's always hard to tell what color it is because there's so many similar colors around it. I wish I had like a brown eggshell color, then I could have achieved that pretty nicely, but I'm gonna just try this tan color that I have here. And so the idea here is to, I'm gonna see if I can go even closer. I'm sorry if that is blurry, I can't really tell. As I said before, my camera is in this stand that is preventing me from seeing very much, but, and then we go on the row above it, we go in the opposite direction. You know, if you have acrylic paint, I would highly recommend just using it because it's much more opaque. This is not really showing through very well. I'll probably go back with white acrylic paint because I don't have this tan color. And I'll definitely add it in some sections. And it's much easier to see that pattern in the darker area. So it's certainly important to have created that base for yourself, as we did. Because that chevron pattern, and I'm sorry if that is not the name of this pattern, but that is what is coming to my head. Fishtail, chevron, something like that. This pattern is what makes this basket look woven. My mom and my niece are visiting right now, and they're playing with and taking care of my toddler. And Usually my mom, every time my mom comes by herself when she visits us, but my niece really wanted to join. And my mom is such a trooper because not only is she taking care of a toddler, she's also taking care of my niece. And I feel like I need to do something special for her. I should have made these a little thicker, these chevron stripes. So now I'm tempted to go back and make them thicker. Okay. So I've got the yellow, tan, whatever color that was on, and I'm gonna take my white acrylic paint now and add that. So I'm gonna use my white acrylic paint to just highlight the pattern, I guess, of the handle. We might go back and just add some brown or black on the top of that white because it kind of washed out the shading a little bit when I did that. This part is also a tiny bit tricky because I want to make these white highlights very thin, but it's definitely a challenge to do so. So we will probably go back in with brown or black or something like that later on. So on some of these lighter parts, I'm going to also add a white acrylic paint because the tan chevron is not very visible there. Okay, I don't want to overdo it with the white highlights there, because it was more meant to be a highlight and not the focus of this entire thing. I'm definitely gonna have to go in now with brown or black and just redefine some of these areas, because we want the focus to be what? I don't know. Because the acrylic paint is not water-based, especially if it's already dry, you can kind of even just go over everything in one swoop. It won't wash it away, or like it'll still show through. So that's something to certainly keep in mind. So what I do want to do, and this is, if I was doing this on a bigger scale, it would be a lot easier, but I want to like create this illusion. I don't know, it's supposed to look like that, where the handle has this texture on it, where it's like curved, bumpy. I don't know how else to describe it. That too much there. That's definitely not. Now I'm just gonna take a little bit more white acrylic paint. I know I'm going a little bit extra here with the white. Okay, I think we should stop focusing on the actual basket, because this tutorial is going to be a very long one if we don't move along. So I'm going to just take some black mixed with brown and fill this in here. Oh, that's why I was like, why? I keep trying to get my brush rid of the water and it just keeps getting wetter and wetter because I was touching a piece of plastic instead of paper towel. I'm gonna take this really light or watered down tan and fill in this rug that's hanging out of the basket. We're gonna let that rug dry and then we're gonna paint it this plaid shaped blue. Oh no, I got this all dirty. Let's see if we can do anything about that. I should have used a clean brush. That's a little bit better. Okay. So while this is drying, we really got to move on from the basket because this is taking way too long. We're gonna paint some like greenery around here, make it look all pretty. So I keep accidentally putting my finger in the acrylic paint, which seems to be a theme in my paintings. So what we're gonna do, I just took a random green that I like. You can use whatever green you prefer. And we're gonna paint a little bit of foliage, or what should look like foliage, all around this basket. So you can paint your foliage kind of around your basket in whatever configuration you want. Right now I'm going really rough and undefined because I want to provide a little bit of background for my foliage before I paint anything more specific on top, or defined. Maybe that's the better word to use. So I do want to work with this while it's still wet. I added a little bit of black to this same green that I'm using to darken it. And I'm just kind of plopping on a little bit more of the same rough style of foliage, but less dense, so that some of the lighter stuff shows through still, or a lot of it still shows through. That's the idea. And I'm definitely concentrating some more of the darkness right up against the basket to give the illusion that it's shaded. And then, of course, we must add, what is this? I'm gonna use my size 00 here. Pick up that, mix some black into there. Add a little bit of Your foliage can be whatever you want it to be, by the way. You don't have to add any, like you can stop here. Am I still on the screen? There we go. You can stop here and not do what I'm doing right now. But I do want a few defined my mom does not give herself enough boundaries. I just overheard, like she's trying to use the toilet and my 9-year-old niece and my almost 2-year-old daughter are like, I guess from what I got from the context, are like shoving themselves into the bathroom as she's trying to use the toilet. She's like, oh girls, I just need a little bit of privacy. And my 9-year-old niece says, we don't want to give you privacy. And my mom's just like, okay. Just, my goodness, set your boundaries. Like, my niece should be old enough to understand that people don't want to be seen when they're using the toilet. I think that's a pretty universal want. So you can add, I think I said this already, but you can add whatever foliage that you want in whatever quantity. Totally up to you. I keep thinking I'm going out of frame. Sorry that I'm not talking as much. For one, when I'm really into a painting, I said this in the painting a couple tutorials ago of the jam jar. When I'm really into a painting, I don't talk much because I'm just really enjoying the process of all the details. And second of all, I don't know if you can hear, but everyone is kind of outside my door and I feel a little bit awkward talking. Okay, I want to add something nice and like a nice border around this. I don't know whether to add like a vine or whether to paint a whole circle around this. I'm trying to decide here. Maybe a tan circle, a very watered down tan circle. I don't know whether to fill that circle in or not, or whether to just kind of leave it the way that it is. Sorry, it's not a circle, it's an oval, but whoops, that was... I think it might look incomplete if I don't fill that in. So, I don't know whether to fill that in or not. I don't know if it looks incomplete or rustic. So, I guess I'm filling it in. Which means I also have to add some going around here. I think I'm gonna move the cart because the way, when my mom arrived yesterday, the way she parked on our driveway, she has a really difficult time backing the other car out, which is the one with the car seat that she uses. I'm gonna just zoom out a tad here so that we can paint the rest of this painting. I don't know if I like that oval around this. I feel like it took away from the intensity of the basket, but what I'll do is what I did in my other, my jam painting, which is line it with black marker, like line some parts to make it pop a tiny bit more. But the other thing I want to do is add some sort of foliage or something on the outside of this oval to complete it. If I didn't add the oval, then I wouldn't have had to add the foliage, but I like to complicate things, you know? So it's going to be the same sort of foliage that I had around here. I don't know if this is what an olive leaf looks like, but this is what I think of when I paint this sort of foliage. Makes me think of an olive branch. And I'm wondering what to add in the center here. Maybe just a black dot. That's not really in the center. I don't know what that is. I just realized like this wasn't really in the center, so I just added some random dots to try and centerize it a tiny bit. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's done. It's black, and I don't feel like trying to fix a black watercolor mistake. So we're just gonna leave it and hope that it looks okay. What I am gonna do actually, as I think I am gonna just try to erase this because I don't like it. And I screwed it up by trying to take off some of the color. Although now whatever this is looks not too bad, so I might just leave it. Or paint it like a darker green. I do want to wrap this tutorial up. We still have the bottom to paint and the blanket. Okay, that sticks out way too much, way more than I wanted it to. I am thinking that I might just not do the bottom, or I'll do it off camera because this, like I said, this is dragging on way too long. Let's quickly move on to the the blanket. I'm just trying to choose my blue. That's probably an okay blue. Okay, so I'm gonna take a blue. You can use whatever blue you want, and I watered it down, and I'm painting stripes. Just try to not do what I just did. You kind of want them curved a little bit because you want the blanket to look like it's draped and not like this 2D flat piece of cloth. So keep that in mind as you're painting. And then we're gonna cross it as well. Again, trying not to make it look flat. You probably could have waited until the first set was dry, and then when you painted over top, those overlapping squares would be darker, which is what we want, but I'm just gonna paint them on, I'm going to paint them on once this is dry. And I think I might just, because we have to wait for this to dry anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and do that second olive branch on the bottom. So I don't know about you guys, how you are, but I have a lot of problems with change, at least when they're in my space. Like if I have a certain way of doing something, it really rattles me when someone comes into my space and does it differently. So a good example of that, and God bless my university roommate. I don't know, she is a trooper. I don't know how she survived with me as her roommate, especially thinking back to some of the things I asked her to do. Oh my gosh, I'm not as bad as this example, but this is an example. I had a certain way that I needed the soap dispenser to face, like a certain direction in the bathroom. And I don't know how she would do it. When she used the soap dispenser, it would somehow turn, and that drove me crazy. So I was like, when you're done with the soap dispenser, can you please turn the nozzle back this way? And that has stuck with me, because even now I recognize how absolutely ridiculous that was. Like, who cares what direction the soap dispenser is facing? But I still have that to some extent in my own home. So when guests come, if they come for a short period of time, I try to just not say anything, because it's not worth it. Like, for most of the things, if they do it a little bit different or make a bigger mess than I would have made, there's no point of making them feel uncomfortable, because they're here for a very short amount of time. But if they're here for a longer amount of time, it's very hard for me not to say something, because it's something that I have to live with for like several days or a week or more. So my mom is one of the actually, I think she's the only person that comes into my home, and I don't know if she's just conscious that this is how I am as a person, and she just doesn't like stick her nose where she knows I would be like triggered by it. But yeah, I don't get that feeling with my mom at all. And that's why we love when she comes and stays, because it's so natural. I don't have to critique anything. She's not in our way. She doesn't like ask for anything to be done a certain way, or doesn't do things in a way that we wouldn't do them, especially when it comes to our child. It's so nice. And so if she were to come and live with us, I would be more than happy. Yeah, when we have other people come, it's definitely a bit of a challenge to just keep my mouth closed and just let things happen, and then clean it up later. I hope I'm not the only one that's like this, but I do recognize, I wish I was more calm and lenient about it. Anyways, I am gonna wrap this up. I didn't make these leaves long enough, so I just added little dots to kind of extend them so they're the same length as the top one. Oh, wait, we forgot to do the blue squares here. This is just all over the place today. So yeah, when this is dry, so mine is dry, I hope, I'm just going into the sections where the two sides are overlapping on my plaid cloth, and I'm making it look plaid. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that because we are just short of an hour. So thank you so much for watching. I think this turned out so cute, and I'm gonna add it to like my favorite homesteading themed paintings. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this and you watch a lot of my tutorials, consider supporting me on Patreon. There's exclusive tutorials available there for my patrons and other content as well. Yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.